Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar. And for the latest weather warnings, as we have numerous rain warnings issued over the coming days, as we are going to see some pretty severe conditions, especially across parts of western and southwestern Britain. South Wales looks like it could be the epicentre of a lot of rain. We have got an amber warning issued there now, as we are going to see some fairly slow moving and torrential rain as we head into Monday. So starting December on a really abysmal note. We'll have to look at that in more detail on the latest UKV, looking at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. We have got a bit of snow and ice around over the next kind of 24 hours, as we do see some slightly colder air digging in on the back edge of this area of precipitation we've got moving through at the moment. So frosts into Sunday, but then the very heavy rain then moves in as we head into Monday. And then through much of early next week, it does look like we are going to see more and more precipitation with this very strong westerly flow. Longer term, as we continue to allude, there looks like there will be a change around the 8th to 10th of December. Exactly what that change will be and how big of a change it will be is still yet to be determined. But at the moment, the most likely scenario is for a bit of high pressure blocking to our north and producing a southerly tracking jet stream, cooler and unsettled conditions. And perhaps there is the chance, as we progress closer towards that lead up to Christmas, we could see that blocking taking over a little further, and that could allow some properly cold air to move in, but still is fairly speculative at this stage. I think we'll do another winter look ahead through on Sunday, which is of course the final day of autumn, and yeah, we'll have a look at the prospects as we head towards Christmas a little bit more in that video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, do like and subscribe. If you start on the live radar, you can see we've seen some really heavy rain moving through southern areas this morning. It's clearing up now, but still a few hefty showers moving in. The rain, though, lingering further northwards, and you can see it's actually back building, i.e. the precipitation is continuing to develop over land as it does clear away. Here we have got a rain warning issued, and it is going to continue to produce a lot more rain over the course of the next few hours. Recording this around 3 p.m, so in the middle of the afternoon now, and yeah, it is still looking pretty horrific out there. There is a bit of snow on the northern edge, and this is because on the back edge of this low we are pulling in northerly winds, so some pretty cold air is digging in. Some higher level snow, not expecting it really to go down to low-lying areas at all, but what we could see into Sunday morning is a risk of ice as those temperatures do drop away once all of the precipitation clears, all that moisture around. There is an ice risk here, and we do actually have an ice warning issued as well. Elsewhere, lots of plenty of showers, but as we head into Sunday, those showers will decrease as we are in between weather systems, but as I said, it will be fairly cold. Now, if you do look at the temperatures, you can see it is still fairly mild further south and eastwards, but it is cooling down over the course of the coming hours. Further northwards, it's already very cold, temperatures close to freezing across Scotland, where we do have a few wintry showers, and that cold air will be digging southwards in the next few hours after sunset. Now, if you look at the latest weather warnings, we have those warnings issued further northwards. Rain warning issued for northeast England here into parts of East Midlands, Yorkshire, and expires at midnight tonight. Again, for all of that rain that's lingering, but it should clear. 20 to 30 millimetres will fall quite widely, maybe a couple of inches, 2 to 3 inches there in the worst affected spots. And of course, further westwards, once the clear skies come out, any of that precipitation we've seen will produce ice, frost and ice in these areas, and there could be issues here again from 10 p.m. until 9 a.m. tomorrow. You can see there's no real mention of any snow because that is not going to be the primary hazard. Yes, there will be some snow over the highest ground, but unlikely to really impact too many people. Now, if you have a look at Sunday, still have that ice warning issued, but as I said, it's a bit of a calm between the storms, between the two weather systems, the one we've got at the moment and the one moving in on Monday. And once that system moves in on Monday, it is looking pretty abysmal. Now, firstly, we've got this rain warning further northwards. It's from midnight on Sunday night all the way to 3 a.m. on Tuesday for heavy rain, bringing disruption on Monday and early Tuesday. Again, we're looking at around an inch of rain quite widely, 2 to 3 inches in the worst spots, maybe even up to 5 inches in the worst affected higher level areas. So pretty bad there, but as we can see, it is lower end of the impact matrix, but pretty likely. Further southwards, though, we have got some even worse conditions. You can see the warnings further eastwards have been moved away now, and that's because the rain looks like it's going to be even slower moving, not as progressive, so most of that rain is going to be dumped further westwards than eastwards. Still going to see rain here, just not going to be as heavy and persistent, not warning worthy, but more of it's going to fall across South Wales, and here has been upgraded to amber. Now initially the yellow warning is for a similar amount of rain further northwards, around an inch or 2, maybe 3 or 4 inches in the worst spots. But I think the biggest issue is on top of all the rain we've seen earlier today and all the rain we've seen over the past couple of weeks as well. We have to remember this time of year there is actually very little evaporation given the cold air, given the lack of strength of sunshine and lack of sunshine in general. It just means that water does not really evaporate from the ground anywhere near as quickly as it would do in the summer months. And that means multiple rainfall events over the course of a few weeks, big rainfall events, and even ones like we've got at the moment where they're fairly back to back, really tot up. And that's why we're going to see some issues here. Not because of the individual amount of rain falling in this one period, but it's falling onto very saturated ground over the course of the past few weeks. And you can see with the amber warning here, you can see heavy rain expected late Sunday into Monday, while rainfall amounts will vary. Some heavy and persistent rainfall is likely over higher ground, 20 to 40 millimetres quite widely, and maybe 60 to 80 millimetres in the worst spots. And again, all falling on very saturated ground. We've already seen amber warnings issued across this portion, further eastwards across this portion, throughout the autumn so far. So it is just totting up. And you can see here medium impact and medium likelihood. Definitely prospects for these warnings to shift and change. As we've seen overnight, they've removed the eastern portion of this warning further southwards and eastwards. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more updates to this. But I do think, yeah, southern Wales definitely looks like it is going to be really bearing the brunt of this rain. And then Tuesday, those warnings are still in force. The amber warning there does expire at midnight, so for the full 24 hours of Monday. Now, if we do have a look at the latest UKV now, you can see that rain moving through at the moment. So you can see it looks like it was going to disintegrate away quite quickly this morning, but you can see it has backbuilt across northern areas and persisted. Certainly a bit of wintriness there after sunset, and then eventually does clear by around midnight. We continue to see some wintry showers across eastern Scotland and maybe down some North Sea coast, but not really expecting much. It's just going to be a cold, crisp start to Sunday. Into Sunday afternoon, it's still sunny and fairly pleasant, but then rainfall continues to move in from the west, and you can see it starts to look pretty abysmal for Monday. All areas are going to see rain, but it's those core areas that we highlighted on the weather warnings that's going to see the most. So it is abysmal for all. And then you can see the rainfall really starting to tot up in those western and southwestern areas. Elsewhere, the rain clears, still seeing perhaps a good 10 to 20 mils in these spots, but then really totting up in those big troublesome areas with those brighter colours, oranges and reds appearing within that, which is really torrential rainfall. And again, that really slowly clears during Tuesday morning. Could still see maybe some warnings issued further eastwards. Still got some really heavy rain here, but at the moment those have been removed. It's those western areas there, especially Monday afternoon into the evening, where it looks really quite horrific indeed. Into Tuesday, it's another kind of calm day. It's not as cold as we don't see a northerly wind on the back edge of that low, but it is a little bit brighter. And then as we head into Monday, it's still kind of in between systems, but a few more showers. And then you can see the thicker cloud building in, and the next area of rain starts to move in there for Thursday. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see it is cold in the north at the moment, and it will be turning much colder for all in the coming hours. And you can see overnight into Sunday, widely below freezing further northwards, and even for central areas and southern areas could dip close to freezing around sunrise tomorrow. Into the afternoon, it's a very cold day, 5 to 7 degrees at best, colder than that further northwards. But as we head into Monday, of course, with the rain moving in, it is going to be with a milder sector, so it will be turning milder, 10 to 12 degrees. So yes, heavy rain, but at least the temperatures will be a little bit higher there to start December. Slightly colder into Tuesday, but it's not that much of a colder air mass, around 7 to 9 degrees. And then again into Wednesday, similar conditions, high single digits for most. Again, temperatures drop close to freezing further north, which again is pretty bog standard this time of year. We are into the winter months now, but at this point, further southwards, more around the mid to low single digits. So yes, lots of disruption coming over the next few days, mainly from that rain. Even if you're not impacted by the weather warnings, still could be issues. And of course, it is going to be miserable out there through Sunday night into Monday, and then for much of Monday further southwards and westwards. So yeah, not looking ideal at all to start December. Not a crisp, dry start that I know a lot of people would like. Of course, a lot of people want snow this time of year, but kind of the best thing other than that really for most people is sunny, crisp. But yeah, not going to see that unfortunately to start December. Long range though, what does that have in store? We have been, of course, focusing on this a lot recently, as again, there's been a lot of talk over a cold December. Now, like I said, the first week isn't looking terribly cold. It's chilly. It's, average temperatures, as we just saw from the UKV. It's not going to be mid to high teens, but we are going to see maybe mid to high single digits a lot of the time. You can see this is because the jet stream shifts southwards throughout the first week of December, and that's with the jet stream moving into the Bay of Biscay. That few 100-mile shift southwards just means we're on the colder side of the jet, we're in the chillier air masses, but it doesn't mean we're cold all the time or chilly all the time. There will be milder sectors, but just more often than not, we're in average or slightly below average air. As we progress around the 8th to 10th, this is where we start to see a bit of a change. You can see those low pressure systems in the North Atlantic are not as well organised, and there's a bit of high pressure blocking to our north. It's not as distinct today on this latest GFS, but you can see a bit more amplification in the jet stream. Again, some high pressure ridging northwards. Again, we're not going to concentrate this on too much in this video, as we have in a lot of other videos recently, and as we've seen, there's a lot of chopping and changing, very little consistency from the models, so we could focus on this, and come this evening, the next GFS run has done a complete 180, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it pulling in bitterly cold easterly. We saw easterly winds from a lot of runs last night, not seeing anything remotely close to that on the GFS today. GM, it's similar over the next week or so, with the southerly track jet stream, see all those lows diving northwest to southeast, so it's a chilly and unsettled pattern. And then out to day 10 again, high pressure trying to ridge further northwards, but again, it's not inherently changing conditions of the surface all too much. Yes, higher level stuff is going on, but it is going to take a little bit longer for it really to propagate through the atmosphere, for actually to impact our weather. Even though that high pressure is building there, we are still within a westerly flow at this point. We need to see some bigger changes for us to actually be influenced by this. ECMF to finish off, again, westerly flow, but a southerly track jet stream, so it's cold and unsettled, and then progressively longer range, again, high pressure appearing towards Greenland, but again, it's not doing too much at this stage. Jet stream is well to our south, almost into Spain there, so it is a cool, cold, unsettled pattern. Lots of cold air getting fed into this pattern. Again, does not mean we're going to be wintry at all. The upper air temperatures are nowhere near cold enough for most of us to see anything wintry, but it is going to be chilly with that airflow coming in from the north to kind of northwest, a long sea track. That's why it's fairly, it's not that cold, but you can see we're all in the greens with all the bigger, milder sectors staying well to our south. So a southerly track jet stream, cool and unsettled, but just not quite cold enough to be seeing actually wintry conditions here. Again, still things could change further into December, and as I said, it's around that 10th, 20th of December point where I think there is prospects for a bigger change, but at this stage, the change we're looking at the moment is a bit of high pressure to our north, southerly tracking jet stream, cool and unsettled, kind of 5 or 6 degree cold rain sort of days, maybe with the chance of it dipping even colder as we head towards Christmas. A stronger signal for blocking at that stage. Now, if you do look at the ensembles, it's a similar pattern, hovering around average over the coming weeks. Again, dropping slightly above, slightly below as we kind of chop and change between milder and colder sectors, but it's by no means a very mild, strong southwesterly wind. It's a west to northwesterly wind. It is cool and unsettled. You can see the frequent precipitation spikes. They're a bit more jumbled longer range as there's less certainty on the timings of low pressure systems, but in the next week you can see where we've got these peaks. That's when systems move in. See, at the moment, a little bit of a lull on Sunday, picking up again into Monday, lull Tuesday, Wednesday, pick up again later on in the week. If we look at the sea level pressure, you can see the dips and troughs and peaks here, and again, just highlighting the up and down nature of the pressure as well. Temperature, precipitation temperature from the ECMWF, it's broadly very similar, hovering a degree or so either side of the ensemble mean, or the 1991-2020 mean, and you can see again lots of chopping and changing with the precipitation as well, but it is very similar to the GFS, where we see those peaks when those low pressure systems do arrive. So fairly strong confidence over the next kind of week to 10 days of a cool and unsettled pattern, maybe a change beyond that, but there is plenty of disruption that could come, not only in the near future, as we've seen from the latest weather warnings, but even into next week and beyond. It doesn't look like December is going to be starting on a particularly settled, pleasant note. It's going to be very unsettled. It's going to be very unpleasant in a lot of areas, and there could also be a lot of disruption, of course, and we'll keep on top of those weather warnings and, of course, concentrate on the longer range as well in tomorrow's video, so keep everyone informed of what's going to be happening. I know this is kind of the time of year when a lot of people are very interested in what's going on. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.